See here.
Keaton Davis.
Turn the audio off there. We're having some technical difficulties.
It happens. We're in a time where that's all normal.
Let's see. There we go. Speaker view. This is what we wanted right here. That way you can see both of us. That's right. You're listening to Blue Collar Sports. I'm your host, Trevor Brunlin. No Seth Newville today. He couldn't make it, but we're going to get him back on the show very soon. And I'm joined by great friend Keaton Davis from Boise State University. Worked with him for the past 4 years. Went to school with him. And I'm joined by Keaton here. He's going to give us a lot of info about baseball and basketball and the whole sports world. So thank you for joining us, Keaton.
Of course. Good morning to everyone out there. It's good to be on the show. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to hear from you. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing good. And yeah, I'm ready to talk. So let's get talking.
Yeah, let's do it. I know the COVID world's been super intense this year. It's been unlike anything. But thanks. I'm doing a lot better now that I'm settled in, and I hope everything your way is safe and you're doing well from everything. Just
yes.
Keep it clean, wearing your mask, keep doing all the protocols you need to do.
Yep.
Started. So this is your last school. This is your last year at Boise State, correct?
Yes. Yep. I'm starting my senior year here at BSU, and it's going to be. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm optimistic about how it's going to play out. But I think we have to realize that sometimes we have to be realistic as well. Of, we want this or we want that to happen, but sometimes you got to realize there's circumstances that might be holding us back from that, and you just kind of have to accept it. And I think that's a role that a lot of people have kind of taken on the last couple months, is just kind of going with the flow. A lot of people don't really know how their day is going to go or how their hour is going to go. It's just kind of one of those things where you just got to take it minute by minute, and what you can do, you can do. What you can't do, you just got to shake off and keep rolling. So it's one of those things that, it's a circumstance that we really can't control, but hey, you gotta make the best of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like I just graduated from Boise State this past May, and it feels like 2 years ago. And we're still in the same situation.
Yeah, the year's just it feels like it's taken forever, but I mean, it's August 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it just feels like it's been forever. This year's just taken so long, but here we are, August 25th. It just felt like we started the new year, but here we are.
And I'm kind of interested in what Boise State is kind of doing out there. I know I'm at Arizona State now. Half my classes are on Zoom, half are in person. What's the university like out there? Are you guys in class, or are you all on Zoom too?
So we just started class yesterday. Yesterday was our first day. Right. And I like my personal schedule, I've got class in person on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then I also have I have a couple online classes, and then I do have if you want to call it a hybrid type class where even though it's still meeting online, we still follow that meeting time at a specific time on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. So a little bit of everything, like I said, we're going to be optimistic and, hope that continues to stay that way, that we can go on campus and we do follow social distancing and we do follow the rules that Boise State has implemented. And because all they're trying to do is just keep us safe, and it's the best that they're doing the best that they can, and they're just trying to take care of us. So hopefully we can stay on campus, because being online all the time gets kind of boring, and you kind of get, stuck in your own home, and you don't have that social interaction. And sometimes that's people need that sometimes. And so it's important to really utilize that. So.
Absolutely. I definitely feel you there. I feel like we've all been trapped for so long now that we need to get out there and be in these social distance areas, especially in classrooms and schools. So, Keaton, I know we both worked for Boise State football the past few years, and Boise State is one of the schools that shut down football the season so far. I know the Pac-12 also did, the Big Ten. What are kind of your thoughts on the college football season? Looks like the SEC is all in. They're going to play. But what's the impact long term for schools like Boise and these schools that aren't going to be playing this fall?
Oof. I mean, I the biggest thing that it comes down to is financial. Some of these schools that don't have the funding and the alum and the funding that some of these bigger schools, I don't know if they're going to be able to withstand not playing a season. It gives them an opportunity to succeed in other ways as well. You have the opportunity to, instead of competing against someone, you're competing against yourself. So you're testing yourself against all other limits that you wouldn't be able to focus on during prepping for an actual season. You've got so many other obstacles that you still are going to encounter, even though you're not playing against a full scheduled team, but you still have to um, you still have to be prepared and continue working hard and grinding and just accepting that we don't get to play a season this year. That's okay. It sucks, but how can we take advantage of still succeeding and benefiting us in ways that the teams that are playing aren't going to have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I know way back before the Boise State even canceled their football season, they had a couple of sports, and that included the baseball team that just played for the first year, but it was only like 2 weeks. It was only with 5 games or so. So that's definitely very sad, and it's hard to see those situations all over the country happening with the discontinued football season with a lot of these conferences in schools. So I definitely think it's going to change after this year. I think the whole university sports world, I think it's going to be a lot different than it has been, because these schools need to find different revenue areas, because a lot of these sports aren't making money. It's mostly football, and if these football teams aren't going to make any money this year, that's a big drop in cost. So
it's crazy to see that some of these universities are saying that football makes up 50 to 80% of their college revenue. That is a lot of money that goes into that school. And like I said, it's going to be difficult for some of these smaller schools that don't have that money anyway to really continue to be able to fund other things or other programs. Or not saying that football funds the basketball team or football funds the music program or the science department or anything like that, but some of these schools that don't have that kind of revenue, it just and not just like it impacts the schools, but it impacts the towns as well. Here in Boise, it's not a big city here, but it's not a small city as well. But you have to think, a lot of the bars that are along University Drive and along the street that runs right next to the stadium, those guys really rely on that service in the fall to operate. And if there's no football season, it impacts them as well. They're a small local owned little restaurant or like a family local bar. It impacts the whole shebang. It's just not the football team, or it's just not the university. It really gets to everyone. So it'll be interesting to see how universities and cities bounce back from that after, if things go back to normal next year, if we do have a season next year, and then you throw in the question of, well, how will it look in the spring?
yeah.
Who would have thought that we would have had a college football season in the middle of the spring? But here we are, and it's a conversation that we're going to have. And, when the time comes to it, we'll talk about it then. But it'll be interesting to see how some people pull themselves out. But, like I said, being optimistic about it is the number one thing, having a positive attitude about it, and just hoping that it'll be all right. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The economic impact on a lot of these small college towns are going to be the real question moving forward, if they're able to bounce back and bring in the revenue and the people that they usually see during football season. So, like you said, we got to be optimistic, and hopefully we're all able to get back to normal by wearing our masks, social distancing, and getting through this 2020 year. It's been already seems like 5 years long, and we're only in August. So, but let's move on from that. Let's get into some sports talk. You're a big baseball fan. You love the
Yeah.
MLB. But I gotta be honest with you, I haven't been watching too much baseball as of recently. I've been very busy doing other stuff. But so I wanted to bring you on here, and I want you to talk baseball, and I want you to give me a big summary of what the season has been going on so far. Which teams are legit? Which teams are fakes? What's kind of your viewpoint of the MLB season so far? I know there's the big COVID issue in the beginning, but it looks like the Marlins are actually doing pretty well. And so, what's kind of your big summary of baseball right now?
Well, I'll start off with this. It's incredible to have sports back. Let me just start off with that. It's a
Yes.
blessing to be able to come home and throw a game on the TV. It feels good to have that back. So I'll start with that. With that said, COVID is obviously it's still an impact on everything, and I think baseball has done a good job of accepting the roles and the safety protocols and everything like that deals with COVID-19. But baseball, it's good to have it back. So with that, let's get into it. So we'll start with the American League. Been paying attention to some of the hot teams in the American League. Right now, I think the best team in the AL right now is the Tampa Bay Rays. They are sitting at 19-10 right now. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're tied for first place with the Yankees in that division, which I'll get into after this. That's a team to look out for come October, I believe. They have the offense to score runs. They have the pitching. They have the depth. This team is pretty loaded when it comes to all around athleticism and finishing. With that said, the New York Yankees, baseball's America's team in the baseball world. They are sitting at 19-10, tied for first place as well, but they're 6-4 in their last 10. I feel like this team it's a great team, but the question is, are they like losing steam? You see so many injuries are coming to this team right now. Judge was on the IL. They put Torres, Paxton on the IL. It's just some of these. Stanton's already on the IL. He's been on it most of the year already. This team is good, but I don't know if they can finish. That's a question that I leave for them. Toronto, Baltimore, Boston rounds out that last 3 of that division. I have to say Boston looks the worst I've ever seen Boston look before, which is weird to say. They're always a competitor in that division and in the whole league. And this year
they just won the World Series a couple of years ago, and then with this whole issue of the cheating scandal, it's been hovering Boston as well. Not only Houston, they had to trade away Mookie Betts. They didn't want to pay him, and it looks like they're in full-on tanking mode now.
Yeah,
so
they're in a building year, if you will.
Yeah, it looks like they're one of the worst teams in the league, and it's crazy because just a couple of years they were the best.
I haven't been following Boston as much as I should as a baseball fan, but in all reality there isn't much to follow. So so that kind of rounds up the AL East. In the AL Central, you have Minnesota sitting at first place at 19-10 as well. That team is on the rise. It's weird to see Minnesota in first place. You haven't seen the Twins in first place in a long time, but this team is I think this team is legit. 7-3 in their last 10. Nelson Cruz right now, just an absolute stud. He's first on the team he's batting a .333. He's got 9 home runs and 25 ribbies. He's just putting that team on his back. It's a good team. Like I said, kind of with the Rays, they've just got a good lineup. Good overall team.
Yeah, the Twins to me are very similar in that they're very balanced and they have a lot of young talent, but they also got those veterans, like you just mentioned, Nelson Cruz with the Twins. They got that veteran presence that can really lift them and compete with the best of them. So I think those are two very well balanced teams, like you said.
That division at 2 and 3 with Chicago and Cleveland. It sits the White Sox and Cleveland. They're sitting both at 17 and 12. It's a pretty good division. Detroit and Kansas City kind of round that out. Kind of little disappointing year for the Royals this year. They haven't been able to do much. Their pitching kind of lacks in a lot of areas. They haven't been able to produce the runs like they have been in years past. But again, COVID strikes every team differently, and it hasn't struck them yet in a way that they all get sick, but it impacts them as to their limitations on playing. So moving into the AL West, one of my, not my favorite team personally, but one of the best teams to watch right now is the Oakland Athletics. Who would have thought we would have said that? It's cool to see them in first place. Kind of a little bit on a skid right now, though. 6-4 in their last 10. Matt Chapman is their number one dude on that team, just hitting the ball like crazy. Their bullpen is throwing great. We're about a third away through the season right now, and it's been awesome to just kind of pay attention to Oakland. They're playing good baseball. They're playing fun baseball. The Astros. Let's talk about the Astros, man.
Talk Astros. I know you're
16,
not.
16-13 right now. They won yesterday, but getting swept by San Diego.
We'll talk San Diego.
I don't know.
San Diego's the real deal now.
Oh, we'll get there. But yeah, Houston. To be an unbiased Houston fan, they just, even though they're sitting above 500 right now, they just don't look pretty. I think the whole cheating thing is getting into their heads a little bit. They're making mental mistakes. They're making mental errors. Just watching Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa drop routine fly balls or botch a throw to first base. It feels good to see that karma's getting them back. Let's just put it that way. Moving over to Texas. Again, Texas just got swept by San Diego the series before that. So they're sitting at 11-17, just an average team in the AL West. Nothing too big of a deal for them. It's good to see the Seattle Mariners not in last place. Good to see them. They're sitting at 11-19 right now. On a little they swept their last series this past weekend. And then the Angels round up that at 9-21 in last place.
Now, I gotta ask you here, the Los Angeles Angels coming into this season, I felt like they were going to be the surprise team for me because they just hired Madden as their new manager. I felt like that was the perfect fit for them. They added some stars around Mike Trout. What's going on with this team? They only have 9 wins. What's going wrong? I felt like this was a wild card team at least, and they're sitting near the last in the pack. I'm very disappointed in the Angels. I felt like they could have been a big surprise team this year.
Their schedule is not tough. They're playing Houston, they're playing Texas, they're playing Oakland. They have some good opponents. But in the baseball world, it's on any given day, anyone can win a game. I feel like you could have the best team in baseball and the worst team in baseball, and on any given day, that 16 can beat that one.
Mm-hmm.
As in other sports, it's hard to, it's difficult for Cinderella to beat Goliath. But in baseball, I feel like it's a sport that any day, whoever's throwing, whoever's on the bump, whoever your lineup is, anyone can win that day. So with that said, it's difficult to pinpoint what the problem is for LA. It's not their year. Like you said, I was excited for him as well. New coach, a couple new studs around an already great stud with Mike Trout. Mike Trout getting paid this past summer. You'd expect him to kind of like not step up a little bit, but he's still doing great.
Mm-hmm.
He's batting 10. He's got 10 home runs right now. He's got 25 RBIs. He's batting at 262. So, he's still contributing as much as he can. It's just, the other.
He can't do it himself. He needs
Yeah,
that
exactly.
around him. But
Exactly.
you really need to see Mike Trout in the postseason. That's what I've been excited about. I felt like Madden could get them there this year, but with everything going on, it just looks like it's not their year. But hopefully next season.
We've wanted to see Mike Trout in the playoffs for the last
Yeah,
5-6 years. It's
every
been
year.
difficult for Anaheim to make it in. So that kind of rounds out the American League. So now we're going to talk about the NL, and starting with the East. The Braves are sitting in first place right now at 16-12. I believe that is the lowest record for a first place team in all of baseball right now. They're nothing like too impressive on that team. I feel like that whole division with Miami, the Mets, the Nats, and the Phillies kind of is just average. It's no one's really a stud in that division, but no one really sucks in that division. I feel like it's just the most average division in baseball right now. So, but with the Braves, you've got Freddie Freeman, who's been probably their number one for the last 5-6 years anyway. He's been fun to watch, obviously. Transitioning with the Marlins, they started out experiencing a COVID outbreak inside, and they missed out on some opportunities in some games, and so having to experience that, obviously, it's going to push the team back, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. It's starting to show that they kind of struggled with it, but they are obviously sitting in second place right now at 12-11. They haven't played a couple games. With that said, it'll be interesting to see, come late September when MLB has given teams two games a day. They're playing double headers. They just changed the rule that they won't have to play 9 games necessarily, but it'll be 7 or not games, 9 innings. They'll be playing 7 innings instead, but the double header each day. Still 14 innings a day, which is a lot of baseball for a team, talking about exhaustion and stuff. But the Marlins, I feel they're on the rise. They have to, figure out a couple things left with their bullpen pitching and their defense, but they are producing runs. That's a team that I would kind of pay attention to come late September, early October. The Mets, 12-14, not really just an average Met season, if you will. The Nationals are sitting at 11-15. A little disappointing for the Nationals this year. Even though they lost Anthony Rendon, they haven't been putting up the numbers that they did last year on their World Series run. So
I believe Strasburg is out for the year. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's hurting their pitching. A couple players are gone. This isn't the same Nationals team that won it all last year, correct?
Definitely not. They lost out on a couple people. Like you said, their pitching kind of lacks right now. Sitting at 11-15, like I said, it's a little. If you're a Nats fan, I would be a little frustrated. Just they're not playing the way they played last year on that World Series run.
Right.
The Phillies sitting at 10-14.
Another disappointing team right here, huh?
Another disappointing team. You expect this team to be somewhat of a powerhouse in this division and in that league, but Bryce Harper, he's not putting up the numbers like he used to. I'm not saying that, but he's not doing what he used to. A little disappointing on him, a little disappointing on that team. The team, I feel, has the opportunity to be fun and be good, but something about them that they just can't really figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of like the Angels, another disappointing team for me. This Phillies team needs to be in the conversation for the World Series, and they're just not. They're too talented to be last in their division.
Exactly.
That's just not how it rolls there in Philadelphia. Philadelphia fans are very passionate about their sports, and if you're not having a great year, they're going to get you out of there real quick.
Exactly. The NL Central, a team that I really like right now is the Chicago Cubs. They're playing great ball. It's sitting at 18-10. That whole team, I feel like that whole team has been the same ever since they won the World Series back in 2017. They have the same people. They have a great manager with David Ross. They have a good. It's just all around. It's good. It's a good team, but they sometimes they kind of hiccup here and there. Javi Baez, still one of the most fun people to watch in all of baseball. Good team. I'd pay attention to him come next month.
Yep.
The Cardinals, another team that suffered COVID issues. They've only played 18 games, so they're like 10 games back right now. So, like I said, come late September, they're going to have a lot of doubleheader games, a lot of issues. Even though they are second place right now, I do feel like they will get tired. They will experience exhaustion. They will have to face some injury issues here come soon. It's just hard to play. It's hard to play, 162 games in a season and then cut it in half. We're playing 60 in 55 days anyway.
Yeah. And then
so it's difficult to.
This team's going to get tired once that happens, and it's going to be very tough to get those wins that they need when they're all back-to-backs and their pitching rotation is depleting. It's going to be tough moving forward for St. Louis, I believe, too.
Exactly. Another disappointing team we can highlight is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
Christian Yelich, that whole offense, like how explosive they were last year. They were a fun team in the playoffs, fun team in the postseason. They just haven't been doing it. They're playing boring baseball, nothing exciting, nothing fun. They're not doing it like they were, and it shows. And it shows sitting under 500 right now.
Yep.
Cincinnati Reds, not too much to expect from them. They're sitting at 11-16. Not really much to do. Not a team that I'm really worried about. The Pittsburgh Pirates. I think they are the only team. Yes, they're the worst team in baseball right now. Let's be real. They 7-17. They've 4 out of their last 10. They haven't figured it out. And they're not going to this year. It's a rebuilding year for them anyway. They have a young roster, young lineup. It shows just the maturity that they have. They don't really have anyone at leadership with that team. And it sucks because Pittsburgh is always a fun team to watch, come postseason time. They're a fun team, to watch in the wild card, or they're just a great team that grinds and battles, but not this year.
Yeah, ever since they moved on from Andrew McCutchen, it seems like they've been trying to rebuild, get those veterans back in, and really kind of train their young guys. They got some young talent, they do, but I just feel like they need a couple more years and some other pieces in there to really get them going to take that next step.
Definitely, it'll be like you said. It'll be a couple years before they finally piece everything together and complete the puzzle. So, moving into the last division. This is the best division in baseball. This is the most fun division in baseball, and that is the NL West.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, the Padres, the Rockies, the Giants, and the D-backs. First of all, let's talk about the San Diego Padres. Most fun and exciting team in baseball right now.
They're electric.
Fernando Tatis Jr. is an absolute stud. Manny Machado, still an absolute stud. I saw yesterday Manny won Player of the Week for last week, which is the second National Player of the Week award in 3 weeks, when Tatis won it 2 weeks ago. That team is electric. That team is fun. That team is 18-12, and they are a team to watch out for come postseason time. They have everything.
So they're not flashy right now. They're in it for the long run.
They're legit. They play fun baseball. They make things exciting. They play the game how it's supposed to be played, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm excited for it. When San Diego is good, it's always fun because that's one of my favorite cities. That's one of the best ballparks you could go to, even though there's still fans. But when the Padres are good, it makes the MLB very fun.
Exactly. Now, with that said, I have to ask you, what your thoughts? 3-0 pitch, you're up 9 runs, you're swinging on on a pitch and you hit a grand slam.
Hey, I don't know why everyone's getting worked up on this. I'm in the batter's box to do whatever I can. And if the pitch is right down the middle, I don't care about the count. I'm swinging, and it's going to be a grand slam, hopefully. And that's what it was. I don't care if it's Frio. If the pitch is right down the middle, you're expecting that. I know a lot of batters take that pitch off, but if it's right there, I'm going to swing, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to win the game, and that's what it takes. And so I don't know why people are very upset. I know the baseball purists are saying that you should not be doing that, but I'm all about winning the game, and if that's what it takes, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if you don't like, getting grand slammed on a 3-0 pitch, don't go up 3-0.
Exactly.
Don't be down 9 runs.
Don't throw it right down the middle on Frio.
It's pretty simple. Exactly. If you don't want to be in that spot, don't put yourself in that spot.
I agree.
The game in today is different than how the game was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The unwritten rules are changing. Things are different now. If we're being real, baseball's boring now. It's a slow sport. If you don't have that passion and you don't enjoy it, then it's not fun for people.
Yep.
But the San Diego Padres are doing the exact opposite and playing the way that people will love to watch.
Yeah, I think if more teams play the way the Padres are playing, hopefully that brings in more of a crowd. Like myself, I haven't been watching too much baseball, but if I'm having teams like the Padres swinging like this nonstop and playing electric, I want to watch that. That's the kind of baseball we get in the postseason, and if we're getting it right now, that's going to make it a lot more fun. And that's like you said, baseball is kind of dying. To be honest, a lot of people are going away to other sports that are not as slow. And that's baseball's big issue right now. So I think we definitely need more teams like the Padres who make baseball fun, and definitely is a lot more electric than a lot of these slow-paced teams.
Mm-hmm. With that said, I am early predictable at 21 years old that Tatis Jr. will win MVP of this league
this year.
I believe so. The way that he's putting up numbers right now, the way he's just playing the game. Yes. I think with 1 or 2 other people, but still not just. I mean, he leads the team in average home runs, RBIs, runs scored, stolen bases. The kid is just electrifying, and he's the face of baseball come 5-6 years.
Wow.
I really love this kid. It's fun to watch this kid.
I'm excited.
5 grand slams in the last 6 days. Something unheard of. Like I said, it talks about that team being electrifying, and it's fun to watch. And like they're putting up. I mean, they have 28 run differential right now. They're blasting teams out of the water. Sweep in Houston this past weekend, great series for them. It looks good. After they swept Texas, their last 10 is 7-3. I could go on about the San Diego team all day.
You got me too. I'm excited.
Very good team. Very good team. On the counterpart of that, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the number 1 team in baseball right now, all around. Sitting at first team to 20 wins. It's kind of a big deal. 9 out of their last 10, they are hot right now. They are hot. That whole lineup is just. I mean, taking and adding Mookie this past season or this off season, just been an absolute benefactor for them. Cody Bellinger off an MVP season last year, adding one of the best players in baseball with Mr. Betts. Just that whole lineup is stacked. Their pitching is stacked. Their bullpen is deep. Their defense is incredible. This team is a World Series contending team.
Yeah, this definitely has to be the year, I feel, for the Dodgers. They've been so close the past few years. You know it more than anybody. Big fan. But the addition to Mookie Betts with the pitching that they have right now, I feel like they're all in for this year, and they need to make it happen. They need to get it complete. They've just been too close the past few years. And if they can't do it with the squad they have right now, which I believe also is the most talented team in baseball, they just got to get it done. or it's not going
Yes.
to happen.
Talking about their pitching, they still got Clayton. Dustin May has been an absolute star from this year. Kenley Jensen, best closer in baseball right now. 8 for 8 on his saves. He's pitching with a 1.5 ERA. This team is the best Dodger team in a long time.
Yes, I agree. We need to make it happen.
They just recently, swept the Rockies, which we'll get into now, sitting at 14-15. The Rockies started out hot. One of the better teams in baseball come around game 20. And since then, they've just kind of tanked a little bit. They're 2-8 in their last 10. Like I said, got swept by LA over the weekend. That team should be good, True story. Nolan, Matt Kemp is on that team as a DH.
Okay.
Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah.
Great lineup. They're not producing like they should be. So a little disappointing to see them sitting at 14-15.
Mm-hmm.
The San Francisco Giants right now, 14-16, coming out at 4th place in that division. It's a tough year for the Giants. They have a good team. They have a good lineup. They're not able to do anything this year.
Buster Posey's not playing this year, right?
He is not playing this year. No, he opted out. So,
mm-hmm.
And then to round it out, the Diamondbacks, 13-17. Both, the Giants and the Diamondbacks. It's hard to be good in a division where you already have 2 to 3 other good teams.
Yeah.
Especially with this year, since it's all interdivision playing, and that's really the only teams that you're playing besides maybe 1 or 2 teams from another division. So it's difficult to see the success that, the Dodgers and the Padres have had, but it makes sense that, 1 or 2 teams have got to suffer because that's all you're playing. These teams have played each other 2 or 3 series already. So and we'll continue to play probably 3 or 4 more.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see how the other half of the season is going to go. Like I said, we're about a third of the way through. My early prediction right now, I'm going with a Dodgers Yankees World Series. I am.
Okay. I love Dodgers.
Yeah.
If you guys are true blue collar sports fans, you've been watching us from the beginning, and me and Seth every year we give our World Series predictions, and I believe I've done Dodgers Yankees for the past 2 years. That's the World Series we need of America. The 2 biggest franchises, the 2 most hated franchises. I think it would be electric. That would get people to watch baseball and get
the fans coming back. Yes,
absolutely. With everything going on this 2020, I feel like we need a big World Series, and it can't get bigger than the Yankees Dodgers. So I agree with you. That would be my World Series early predictions. I do think the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. The AL, I think, is a little bit more open, but the Yankees, they got that star power. If they're able to stay healthy, I feel like they could get there as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. My power rankings right now in baseball. Okay. Sure. Obviously the Dodgers are sitting at number 1. I did put the A's ahead of the Yankees right now. Just the A's are they've been a little bit more consistent lately. They're not battling those injuries. They're a fun team to watch. That's the only thing the Yankees lack right now is experiencing the injuries and a little bit of a downfall. They're on a little bit of a stump. They'll figure it out. It's the New York Yankees. They always do. I put the Twins at 4. The Twins are on my 4 spot. It's like I said, 20-10 right now. They're a good team. They're a pretty loaded team. They're playing good division baseball. It's just they're sitting at my number 4, and my number 5 is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Okay, so you got 4 AL teams and just 1 NL.
I do.
So you think it's a runaway for the Dodgers in the NL?
I really do. Not saying that because I'm a fan. I just that team. Mm-hmm. This is the best Dodger team we've seen.
Right. Yeah. Like we've said, I feel like this has to be the year for them with the squad that they have. They gotta get it done. So that's Keaton Davis's MLB talk. Thank you so much for giving me a summary of the baseball world, what's been going on. I hope to have you back on here to finish out the MLB season. But Let's continue. Let's go on to another sport, and that is the NBA, National Basketball Association. They're doing their sport in a little different direction. They are in Orlando. They are at Disney World. They're secluded in a bubble. So very different. But boy, has it been a wild ride. I believe we're a little bit over a month now in the NBA bubble. We had the play-in games. Now we're into the postseason. We've seen a couple teams advance. We could talk about the playoffs, what the standings are right now, which teams are going to the second round. But before that, I want to get your piece on the NBA bubble, what you've been watching, and how do you think the NBA has been handling all of this COVID situations?
Right now, the bubble, it's been great. It's worked perfectly for them. It's been I think a huge success. I feel like Adam Silver's done a great job of, really stating the rules and everyone is following the rules. They tested over like 1,200 people, staff, players, everyone inside the bubble, and not one positive test. That's a success right there. That is a success. Wonderful job by the NBA the National Basketball Association. They've just done a great job of, sticking with what they said they were going to do, following everything, following protocol, and really doing a great job of really like balancing out and having a fun and a successful season after, they had to call it quits back in March, push it off a little bit, postpone it. But here we are. It's playoff basketball time, baby. It's good. It's a good time.
Yeah, I love playoff basketball. But let's go back to you mentioned in March when the NBA shut down. They were the first sport to shut down operations, and I remember I was watching that Jazz and I was watching the Mavericks game that was going on, and then the Jazz were about to play, and everything just shut down from there with Rudy Gobert. And Mark Cuban was on there. He didn't know what was going on, and that, like we said, that seems like years ago now. But what were you doing at that moment? Were you watching, or did you just hear it come through?
Yeah, we were at a restaurant watching at Buffalo Wild Wings, actually, and so we had a bunch of sports on, and we saw that I believe it was the Jazz Thunder.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yes, Jazz Thunder, getting ready to start, warming up and everything, and just like that, it was everyone was pushed off the court in a very quick way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if fans evacuated or they kicked fans out.
Yeah, the fans were all there, and they announced on the Jumbotron that the NBA has suspended operations. So They told all the fans to go home, pretty much.
Yes, it was a night where a lot of decisions were not made quickly. They did it the right way, but it was literally like in an hour, we went from getting ready to tip off a great game between two great teams to the NBA season is over.
It definitely was a very quick operation there because I think we all kind of knew what was going on, but it really hadn't hit the U.S. yet. And that was like the first significant time that it really got somebody that we know in Rudy Gobert. And at the time, I saw the Jumbotron and the announcement, but I really had no idea what was going on. I felt like someone had died or something really serious had happened. And then we heard the news that Gobert was positive, and at that point, we really had no idea what the virus was. So the NBA acted fast. They suspended operations, and every other league and business did the same thing. So it ended up being the right decision. But now we're back in Orlando. They're playing again, and the Jazz are actually playing pretty well. So it's good to see
up 3-1 right now in Denver, and
it's good to see that the NBA is back in full go. But yeah, I think the NBA, like you said, is doing a great job in the bubble. No positive cases. I know we had a couple players leave the bubble and get into the wrong places, maybe in Atlanta, but so far it's been fantastic, and it's going to be interesting to see. I believe after this first round or second round, family and friends are able to come into the bubble for the players.
Yes, it'll be interesting. I
For
believe
all,
each player or staff member was allowed
yeah.
two family members
Mhm.
plus a child. So it'll be interesting to see some kind of fans back in the uh, in the sports world, you
Yeah.
know. But like I said, it's they've followed all the rules. They've done it all the right way. They have been not the guinea pig, but the guinea pig to show how successful this format is. You
Yeah.
know, seclude everyone, put them all in the same place, and follow rules. It not that it's not difficult anyway, but they've done a great job of leading and showing what what like sports or what like it sets the example for what a bunch of other people can follow for. This is not that this might be the new normal, but it just proves that they've done a great job of following protocol and following format that and it's shown and it's been successful.
Yeah, and I believe, like you said, it may not be the future, but we've seen that it is operational and it's proven, and it can happen if we need to be in a situation that is similar to what we're in right now. I believe other sports like football maybe can't do that because equipment wise, it's just too hard. Baseball, I know they didn't want to play in Arizona where it's 115 and in Florida where it's super humid outside. But if they had to do their season at the spring training facilities, I believe that could be an option as well. So we've definitely seen that the bubble is a viable option for sports moving forward if we're, God foreseen, a situation similar to we're in.
It's interesting and it's definitely it shows that it's definitely an option for
Yeah.
future, you know, if we need to or if it needs to happen, you know. Can you do the baseball playoffs in a bubble? Definitely, it's
Mhm.
completely possible. I think baseball and basketball are those sports that, you know, you can play, maybe not now, but you can have a lot going on, whereas football and how physical football and hockey maybe, it's hard to keep that much and that many people and all that in one area. But baseball and basketball, it's all you need is a place to play and a bat or a basketball, and you're good to go. You know.
Absolutely. So let's get your thoughts on the NBA, the teams and the players. We'll get into which teams you think are legit contenders in this weird NBA postseason and finals we got going on. But I want to get your take on who do you think's the MVP of the bubble so far, including probably the play-in games and now into the postseason. Who's been the standout guy for you, Keith?
Um, I have oh god, it's difficult between Dame and Devin Booker.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, even though the Suns didn't make it, they were out of that. You know, they finished 10th. They didn't make it into that. You know, that West play-in game against the Blazers, but he the Suns went 9-0, 8-0,
yeah,
9-0.
yeah.
Didn't lose a
Undefeated.
game. He was putting up 40 each game. He really did a good job of, you know, not putting that team on his back, but really like being the number one and proving why he was the number one of that team. That so the Suns look good. I was a little disappointed to not see them make it.
Yeah,
But it kind of shows how deep the West is and how competitive the West is. There's some good teams in the West.
absolutely.
And when you talk about the 10th team being good but not making it, it proves that there's some talented teams in the West Division, you
Hmm.
know. But my Dame and Devin Booker, I think, are were very close
Yeah,
for MVP of the bubble.
the two stars of the bubble so far, I agree, have been Devin and Dame Dalla. It was good to see the Suns really. We've been waiting for them to pop, and we finally got them to show the world that they are on the rise. And Devin Booker really
Exactly.
showed out and proved that this team is going to be legit and a force to be reckoned with moving forward. So hopefully, I'm hoping. I love Monty Williams, great head coach for them. I hope that they could bring that momentum into the next season and we could get that same Suns team moving forward because the Suns, it's a great basketball town, great basketball franchise. We need the Suns to be good. And Devin Booker, he needs to get that experience in the postseason. So it's good to see them. They almost had the chance in the play-in game, but they just fell just shy because of the
Just a
Portland
little short.
Trailblazers, who also played very well. And that was the MVP of Damian Lillard. playing out of his mind. But they're kind of in a tough situation now. They got the 8th seed, but they do have to play the Los Angeles Lakers, the number 1 team in the West, and they find themselves down 3-1 in that series. Are the Lakers going to close it out? I believe they play tonight.
I believe so. Yes. I watching, Dame play against the Suns and watching him play against Memphis and then watching how they played in game 1 against LA. I really thought that, hey, Portland is the team to beat the Lakers. If anyone could do it, it could have been Portland. CJ McCollum, Dame, they have a good team. They have good chemistry, but they've always played this kind of basketball. It's gritty, it's hard. They work, they grind, and I thought that they could do it. But to see, the dominant performance that LA had against them last night, 135 to 115. At one point they were up 40 points on them. So I think LA closes it out, and I think it goes 4-1.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you. These are 2 of my favorite teams here. The Trailblazers have been fantastic, the best story so far in the bubble, but I think they just are going to have to close it down because they've been battling some issues with injuries, and they just look tired out there. I don't think they can compete with the length and freshness of the Lakers, and I think the Lakers are definitely a great team that can move on to the next round, and they're going to have to play either the Rockets or the Thunder, who find themselves tied 2-2. And what a series has that been? Chris Paul playing against his former team, Russell Westbrook. I know he's been sidelined a little bit, but he's going up against his former team as well. A great story there. What do you think of this series?
It's been a fun series, 2-2. It's good to see this neck and neck right now. Obviously, that 4 and 5 game is always close. It's never a 4-0. It's never a 3-1. It's always going to be a 4-3 or a 4-2. It just that's how that 4-5 game always is. And to see these 2 teams, meet in the first round, it would have been awesome to see them meet in the second round or even the Western Conference Finals even. But I love it. I love the storyline. I love the way that everyone's been playing. I love the chippiness.
Yeah, physical.
It's been physical. It's been competitive. It's been grindy. It's been a good series. Seeing yesterday, Chris Paul and Steven Adams kind of go at it a little bit.
Yeah.
Or not Russ. I'm sorry. Russ and Steven Adams go at it a little bit. You love to see it. It's playoff basketball. You got to have a little bit of competitiveness when it comes to that kind of area. So to see the series 2-2, I can't tell you who's going to win it. It's neck and neck right now. So
yeah, I love this series. Like you said, definitely very chippy. The Thunder to me have been one of the best stories in basketball. I including me, I felt like this was a team that's good. They just traded for Chris Paul. They traded away their best player, and they're kind of rebuilding now. But Chris Paul, I think he's got to be in the MVP conversation because he was able to lead this team to a 5th seed in the West. Like you said, very tough conference overall, and this Thunder team is very young. But with the leadership of Chris Paul, they find themselves tied with the Houston Rockets. Best of 3 moving forward, and the chance to play the Lakers next round. I can't pick either. I think it could go either way for this.
It could go either way.
So I'm excited to see what happens there. We'll move on to the next one with the Utah Jazz. They are up 3-1 on the Denver Nuggets. We talked about the Jazz. They were the storyline with the COVID issue, but they find themselves playing the best basketball of the season right now, and I feel like they're going to be able to close it out on Denver.
I'm excited to see how it will go the next day or two. The Jazz are a good team, and like I said earlier, it just shows how competitive the West is. They could have been the 2, they could have been the 3. They are the 6. So it just shows how competitive and how deep that team is. This is a good matchup. This has always been a good matchup in Denver and Utah. Yeah. It's competitive. It's gritty. I think Denver gets one more, and then Utah will close it out at 4-2.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. And the winner that will be playing either the Clippers or the Mavericks. How about this series? The number 2 seed Clippers are tied with the number 7 seed Dallas Mavericks at 2 apiece. How about the play of Luka Doncic? We saw him with the buzzer beater the other night in overtime. This kid's been out of his mind. This Mavericks team, I'm super excited to see what they could do against a lot of people picked the Clippers to win it all this year, but they find themselves tied with the Dallas Mavericks. What do you make of this series so far?
You see the Los Angeles Clippers and you think Kawhi and you think Paul George, and this is a good team. It's got a lot of depth. They work hard, they grind, but to see them tied right now with the Mavs, it's Luka, man. He's the real deal. He's a fun player. He's fun to watch. He's got a bright future. I mean, he's 21 years old.
Yep.
I mean, we're older than him, you know.
Insane.
But this is a fun series. You know, it just, like I said, it shows how competitive this side of the league is. Again, and you know, the way that Dallas has been playing, I can't really tell you who's going to win this one either. We'll see who gets 3. You know, obviously getting the 3rd win in the best of 7 series is a huge benefit to your team. But you know, someone could win 3 and then the other one could win 3, and then we'll go to game 7 and then we'll decide. So this will be an interesting finish for this side.
Absolutely. I feel like the winner, either of these teams could come out on top, and it's going to come down to the next game. I feel like who wins the next game, I think we'll be able to close it out. So this has definitely been one of the best matchups of the postseason so far. And we'll go over to the East real quick. Not as exciting out there. We did see the Celtics sweep the Sixers and the Raptors sweep the Nets. They'll be facing off in the second round. You saw the Heat sweep the Pacers. They're likely going to play the Milwaukee Bucks, the number 1 seed in all of basketball. So what do you make of the East so far? And who do you think is going to come out of the Eastern Conference?
You know, like my point earlier, it just shows to see 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, 3-1, probably be 4-1, opposed to, you know, we see 3-1, 2-2, 1-3, 2-2. It's the West and the East are very different. The West has that depth that the East lacks, and the East is broken up. Instead of the top 8, it really is the top 4. You know, it was interesting to see, you know, Miami sweep Indy, especially with Indy being the 4. I mean, easily that, like I said, the 4-5 is always, it can go either way. The 5 can be the 4, the 4 can be the 5. But it's good to see that Miami kick butt. You know, Jimmy Butler, he's always been a stud. They're playing great basketball. Who do I like in the East? The Bucks, man. The Bucks are the only. You know, we have the Raptors that swept the Nets at 4-0.
Props to Toronto. Without Kawhi Leonard this year, Nick Nurse, he won Coach of the Year this season because of his job with this. They're the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're playing better than they did a year ago.
Without one of their best players.
Without possibly the best player in the league in Kawhi Leonard. They went 7 games with the Sixers last year, who just got swept by the Celtics. So the job the Raptors have been doing, hats off to them.
Definitely. They've played good basketball. They've been able to find ways that to fill that spot that Kawhi left with. And they haven't missed a beat. They've done great.
Yeah. So you're picking the Bucks to come out of the Eastern Conference, and I'm going to change it up. I'm going with the Boston Celtics. I feel like this was my preseason prediction with the Celtics coming out of the East. I like Giannis a lot, but I just don't feel like he's the guy that could take them to that step right now. I feel like he does need Chris Middleton's a nice player, but I feel like you have to have a legit number 2. And I just don't know if the Bucks are going to be able to do that. I think the Celtics, the way they've been playing with Jason Tatum, Brad Stevens is a phenomenal head coach. They got all their players clicking right now. Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown. I feel like the Celtics team, I think this is the time that they could find their confidence and compete with the Bucks to get into the finals. And I'm going to have to go with the Celtics in this one.
Well, I guess we'll see them in the Eastern Conference Finals, probably, most likely. So
yeah, with them and the Bucks facing off, and then we'll go over to the West. You picked the Bucks to come out at East, but in the Western Conference, it's a bit tougher to choose that one team. And who do you think is going to come out at top?
I hate to be, you know, the realist in this situation, but I got to go with the Lakers. I think, in my opinion, it's going to be 1 versus 1. You know, the two best teams in basketball. With that said, you know, we could see We could see the 4. We could see the 7. We could see the 6. The West it's open.
Yeah.
I want LA, I want to see LeBron win one for LA, to keep that conversation going about being the greatest. It's always going to be about that, but he can do a lot with this LA team.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. I think the Clippers to me are the most talented team in basketball, but I feel the greatness of LeBron, he still has it in himself. And I feel like if he's able to play the way he's capable of with Anthony Davis, I think they'll be able to take down the Clippers in the Western Conference and meet up in the finals. So I'm right there with you. I want to see the Lakers win it. LeBron, he needs this one. I think looking back in 20 years, we'll know all of his finals, but we'll talk about the bubble postseason, and we'll talk about LeBron doing everything he is right now inside the bubble and coming out on top for the Lakers and for Kobe Bryant. I think this is the story we need.
Definitely. I think this is, like you said, we're going to sit back and years to come and we'll realize that, oh, hey, the year that all of it happened, with Kobe and the bubble. But remember when LeBron took him, LeBron's always been one of the best players in basketball. He's been so successful and so dominant, and this Lakers team is special. And I feel like, 24 is riding high with them all the time. Right now, I feel like this is the team to do it. This is the year to do it with all the surrounding things that have happened. It would be the perfect story. So.
Absolutely. And that's what we need this 2020. We need those feel good stories. And I feel like that could be one of the best we've ever seen if that's able to happen the rest of this year. So that's your NBA bubble talk with Keaton Davis. Thank you very much. Keaton, it's been fantastic. Is there anything else you want to touch on? And you've been great.
Not right now. We'll talk again when come finals time or
Absolutely.
Some postseason time in baseball. And it's just thank you for having me. And it's been great. It's been good to talk sports with someone who I've been able to talk sports with for the last 4 years. So
yeah, absolutely. And I know we've been talking about doing this for a long time now. We're finally able to make it happen. I know it's virtually, we're on Zoom, but it's been fantastic. And we're definitely going to do this again. We got to keep this going. So have a great semester at Boise. You're almost there. You're going to make it happen, and you're going to be a graduate very soon.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you for having me again. Thanks for everyone who's listening. It's been good to talk about some sports. So
yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Keaton. You've been watching and listening to Blue Collar Sports. I'm your host, Trevor Brenlin, with co-host today, Keaton Davis. So it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on, and check us out at Blue Collar Sports on YouTube. Click the link on below, comment, whatever you want to do. It's been fantastic, and thanks for listening today. Thanks, Keith.